myself again. But it's the only way you're ever gonna learn. You look back and it's all in the past. I'm dwelling on the...
Good evening and welcome to NUFC Matters with me, Steve Wraith. I'm slightly, I would say, hungover, lads. It's been one of those creeping hangovers. It's come on us as the day's gone on. I think I've learned my lesson there. Never drink with Mick Lowe's and Steve Hasty. So, a good day, and John Anderson coming along as well. And it was nice to get up to the Dog and Parrot again, where we tend to do the talk-ins pre-match. So yeah, good day out, and good to catch up with people. But onto the show tonight, we decided to do a season review week. Should get different fans on, different regular contributors on to talk about the season. And Chris, when we suggested doing this, has kindly suggested that he would do some stats because Andre couldn't make it. So we're calling him Sub-Stato today. So Chris, over to you for your stats.
Okay, so thanks, Steve. First, no one can replace Andre, so this is my poor substitute here. But I just wanted to sort of put the season in perspective, sort of how we did the run-in versus where we came from. So if you look at our win totals for April and May, we had 5 wins in 9 matches in April and May, and you have to go back to November to March to equal the same amount of 5 wins. So we had 5 wins April and May, and we had 5 wins from November to March. If you look at our points totals for each month, September 4 points, October 4 points, November 6 points, December 5 points, January 3 points, February 4 points, March 2 points, April 8 points, and May 9 points. So you see how dramatic the difference was in the run-in. And I would suggest that you look at the key dates. In January 27th, Newcastle appointed Graham Jones, the assistant coach. February 1st, we signed Joe Willett and the loan for the rest of the season. Then you had February 11th, Callum Wilson was out 6 to 8 weeks for the hamstring injury. March 2nd, St. Maximin and Almiron were out. April 4th, St. Maximin returned versus the Spurs. April 11th, Callum Wilson returned. So you look at the closed season. We had April. We had 8 run-in. We had 8 goals in 8 points out of 4 matches. May we had 9 points and 10 goals out of 5 matches. Whereas we had no wins in March, 1 win in February, 1 win in January, 1 win in December, 2 wins in November, 1 win in October, 1 win in September. So we basically backloaded all of our points and goals, essentially because we were out missing Callum Wilson and St. Maximin, and to a lesser extent Miguel Almiron. But you have to look, of course, at Joe Willett's contribution, scoring the 7 and 7 to close the season. And then, of course, everyone would look to January 27th when we appointed Graham Jones as the assistant coach. So, of course, there wasn't a direct up and up, continuing steady rise from Graham Jones' appointments in end of January, because we only had we had a very poor March after increasing our production from January to February. But clearly the combination of sort of returns from injuries for our key players, the return, the appointment of Graham Jones, and just basically a return to goal form was really the difference. And we all remember Steve Bruce saying he's going to take the gloves off, but essentially it was getting those lads healthy, sort of buying into the Graham Jones more attacking system, and that was really the difference in getting those 5 wins to close this season versus equaling the 5 wins we had in the previous 4 months.
Yeah, okay. Good stuff, Chris. Well studied, mate, and a lot of pointers in there. I think it's something which is really, Newcastle fans realise that Willett and Wilson were probably the main reason why Newcastle managed to claw themselves away from the relegation trapdoor. But Graham Jones's appointment was just as important, and I think Mick Lowe's had said that as well yesterday. But yeah, great stuff, mate. And the result of all of that, of course, means that we're in the Premier League for another year alongside the likes of mighty Brentford. Congratulations to them yesterday. Okay, but thanks for that, Chris. What we're going to do now is essentially just go around the panel. I think David Reed's keen on joining us, so I've sent him the link. Going to look at your player of the season first, Chris. Who was your player of the season?
I think you got to give it to Joe Willett. I mean, he was the major difference. Well, I just explained. While Wilson and Almiron and ASM were out, but of course, also one stat I didn't put in there was the difference in form between having Dubravka in there and Darlow. Clearly, there was an uptick in form when we had Dubravka back. So I would give him sort of like a number 2 or number 3 player of the season, because as well as Darlow played, and well played by him. He wasn't. He showed that he does belong to be someone's number 1 keeper. It's not us, maybe, as long as we have Dubravka in there. But yeah, so I would say Joe Willett and Dubravka, and of course Callum Wilson's goals. But yeah, those are my players of the season.
Great stuff, mate. Okay, that's one vote there. Chris, over to you for your player of the season.
I had a little bit of a think about this, but in the end, Steve, I had to go with Callum Wilson. Without his 12 goals, I believe it was, without his 12 goals this season, we wouldn't be where we are. Simple as. I mean, he's such an important player to us, and we're so lucky, to have him. And I'm still in disbelief that it was only ourselves and Villa who wanted him for 20 million. Even the likes of the more mid-table teams, like Everton and Wolves and teams like that, he'd fill his boots if he played for a club like that. So the fact that he's scoring 12 goals with us getting into double figures in such a team where we don't create that many chances. But he doesn't need that many chances, and that's the key. That's the reason that Callum Wilson cost 20 million, and in my opinion, he should have been far more than that. But yeah, for me, it's got to be Callum Wilson. I mean, I'm going to talk about Joe Willett a bit later on, but in terms of the whole season, I'm going to say it's Callum Wilson for my player of the season.
Okay, great stuff, mate. Going the way that I expected it, to be honest. Kieran, over to you, mate. Your player of the season, please.
Yeah, I'm with Chris. Callum Wilson, without doubt. I mean, was it? He scored 12 goals, and I think if he hadn't scored those goals, I really would fear us going down. Because I mean, I know about, I think it was about 6 or 7 of them have been penalties, but at the end of the day, he's got them in penalties, and he's put them in the back of the net. And without him, I personally, I really would. We'd probably be favourites to go down, because even since he came back, he's that kind of presence, in the changing room, and he'll give everyone a lift, along with Sam Maximan definitely as well. But I would give it to Wilson definitely.
Right, okay. David, welcome, mate. Thanks for asking to come on. And we're going through a season review. So we're going for player of the season first, mate. Who's your Newcastle United player of the season for this season?
I think Willett have a good shout, because I think without him, things might have been very tricky. Wilson, of course, top goal scorer, so definitely up there. Dubravka, when he came back, a bit dodgy at first, but he turned it around. And the SM, when he came back, especially against Burnley, I think he just showed energy and enthusiasm to get over the line. So really, any of those 4, I couldn't pick one.
You couldn't pick one?
If I had to go for one, I would go for Willett.
Yeah, 7 goals in 7 games. I mean, it's outstanding. And you think as well, he wasn't getting picked at one point. But yeah, okay, that's another one for Willett. Martin, on to you, mate.
Evening, guys. Yeah,
Hi,
for
mate.
me, again, nice to see you. Sorry, it's been a while. So, Willett for me as well. I thought when we were back from that international break in April, that was a turning point for me. The 2-2 draw with Spurs. I think bringing Richie back in, I think, his positivity, his leadership, I think that had a massive, massive effect on the team. So, yeah, Willett just sort of got ahead of Richie for me. I know it was like only 2 months playing, really, for Richie, but what an impact I think he had, and that sort of new recipe and new sort of thing for the team. I think it just really changed things, and we went on a massive run, didn't we, right up to the end of the season.
Yeah, 100%, mate. It was a great run in. I mean, obviously, you had to dip out of the match day lives for a little bit. I mean, it eventually ended up, being quite, quite a distance.
Good job I did, Steve, wasn't it? Good job I did. You started winning.
Finishing 12th place as well, mate. Amazing. Yeah, amazing. Alwaleed, good evening, mate.
Good evening, girl. How are you, lads?
Good to see you, mate. Good to see you. Who was your player of the season for Newcastle United, mate?
It's very hard question because the season was very long. At the beginning, I could say Darlow because we were depending on him, and I remember we called him as many as time man of the match. He saved us a lot when Dubravka was away. Also, we could say Wilson and the first half of the season. So if I say first half of the season, I would say Darlow and Saint Maximin. The second half of the season, I would say Saint Maximin and Willett. But as overall, I would say Willett because he lifted up the team in very very crucial time with his contribution. After all, he's lone player. We didn't expect him to do that, and even the Premier League give him what he deserved by ending the season by giving him the player of the month. So, to sum it up, I would say Joe Willett for his outstanding performance.
Yeah, good stuff. Okay, Nathan, I know you're having a few internet issues, but your player of the season, mate?
Yeah, hi lads. Sorry about that. My internet's moving mad today. Yeah, player of the season for me, it's got to be Callum Wilson. I think it just shows what a difference from last season to this season, having someone who can lead the line, who can run into channels, drag defenders out of place, and it makes other people around him look so much better. Like we looked at St. Maximin and Almiron this season, but when those guys play with the likes of Dwight Gale, Andy Carroll up front, they don't look like getting a look in half the time. But when Callum Wilson's playing, he drags defenders out of position for them to look even better, I feel like. So, yeah, I think he will be player of the season. For me, Joe Willett a close second. I think Joe Willett, he dragged us out of that dogfight, didn't he, in the last sort of 6-7 weeks of the season. Also, I think a shout needs to be made to Federico Fernandez, because I think he's looked really solid at the back this season. I think whoever he plays next to, he makes them look better. So whether it's been Lascelles or Kieran Clark or whoever else at the back, he's made them up their game, I think, when he's been at the back with them. So, yeah, I think a little shout out to Fede Fernandez as well.
Yeah, good shout as well. Yeah, good stuff. Okay, on to the next category, which is goal of the season. And there was some special goals that Newcastle scored throughout the season. Chris, over to you.
Yeah, this is a tough one for me. I'm going to have to say the goal that kept us up, which was when we secured the points. I would say, what was it? Okay, I lost it. You have to come back to me.
All right, okay.
Yeah,
you got a mind blank. It's because you've been doing all those stats.
All them stats, yeah.
I know there was an ASM goal, but I can't remember who it was against.
Burnley.
Yeah,
I'm gonna talk about that one, Chris.
Okay, yeah. So over to my pal Chris for that.
All right, okay, Burnley it is then. Okay, Chris, come to you. Obviously, you slightly stolen your thunder, but yeah, it's the same goal.
Yeah, to be honest, Steve, I think a few people on the panel picked that one, but for me personally, it was just the way St. Maximin and Wilson came on in the 60th minute. We 1-0 down. As we all know, we were on that horrible run. We'd had a bad result against Brighton. We'd had, I think it was a draw against West Brom. We just weren't picking the points up, and we were 1-0 down against Burnley. We looked done, dead and buried. And then St. Maximin and Wilson come on. And it was probably one of the few appearances from Wilson, actually, where he didn't actually do much. But St. Maximin came on. He laid the ball back to Jacob Murphy, who buried it in the bottom left corner, which was a great finish to equalise. And then my favourite goal, which I'm going to talk about now, is when John Joe Shelby gave it to St. Maximin just before the halfway line. He literally just ran at the defence. I think it was Ben Mee and Tarkowski. And they literally just didn't know what to do with him. And I think he went to the right. They both went that way. He turned back inside and just buried it. And literally, that was my favourite goal of the season, because I can still remember my reaction. I think I screamed Maxi at the top of my voice, because it was just one of those goals where, like, it was so important to us. And as soon as the ball hit the net, that was when I thought, yeah, we're going to get out of this. So for me, that was the goal of the season, not just because of its importance, but just purely for the actual goal itself. Like, I doubt you could probably count on one hand how many players in the Premier League could do that goal that he scored. And St. Maximin, luckily for us, is one of them. And it was just a great goal of such significance, but a fabulous finish.
Yeah, great stuff, mate. Okay, Kieran, your goal of the season.
For me, I think it was the goal. I don't know if any of you remember. It was the goal against Wilson scored against Everton, the header at Goodison Park. You know, the corner.
Yeah.
That was really. He took that really well. Like, some people don't realise how hard it is to do that. And he's kind of come across him, and he's headed it into the corner. And also that goal St. Maximin scored against Burnley as well. Which is probably, that one was the most important of the three, of the two I would pick, because after that goal went in, you just think, oh yeah, we're going to get out of this. But for me, it was Wilson's header, because of how good it was.
Yeah, great stuff. Okay, Nathan.
Yeah, I think for me, the goal against Burnley, the St. Maximin's goal, was excellent. I think that's even referenced by you looked at the camera angle when there was a camera angle that was shown on Sky, and I think St. Maxi even duped the cameras, didn't he? He dummied them as well. So for me, I think that was like the best goal of the season. But also as well, in the reverse fixture, he did like something pretty much the same. I don't think he ran as far with the ball, but he did the same again. He was like sort of 1v2 against Tarkowski and Ben Mee. And again, they didn't know what to do with him. So for me, that's probably the best goal of the season, I think. Also, I think what I really liked was the Joe Willett goal last week. The running that he did from, he picked it up off our right back, didn't he, in that area, and he ran. And I'm not seeing a player for Newcastle run with the ball like that for a long time from that kind of area. And I think that's what we've been talking about this season, is having a player in the centre of midfield that can pick the ball up and run and take the pressure off the rest of the team. And he did that in spades, didn't he, against Fulham? So and he ended up with a goal at the end of it. So I think that was an honourable mention as well.
Yep, good stuff. David, your goal of the season, mate?
Well, I do agree with ESM v Burnley, totally. But I think the best goal I enjoyed was Wilson against Leicester. Pass of the season from Richie. I don't know if that was 3 or 4-0, but just for what it meant.
Yeah, I agree as well. Yeah, there's been some good goals. I mean, it's there's certainly towards the back end of the season that Leicester game was key as well, and the Burnley game was a big one as well. Marty,
sorry.
Oh, go on. That's okay. Go on, David. Finish.
To be 4-0 up at a team like that.
Yeah,
was just unbelievable.
Yeah, it was, especially with the way they went on to finish the season as well, winning a trophy. Marty, your goal of the season?
Yeah, so I agree a little bit with Kieran there. The last week's goal was pretty good by Willett when he went through the whole of Fulham's defence, and then he lost the ball, didn't he? And then he regained it again and then put it away. So that was very impressive. But I think the goal of the season for me was the importance of it was, like I mentioned earlier, that equaliser against Spurs, that header that Willett got in the 85th minute. I just think our season just turned from when that goal went in, and we claimed that draw in the last 5 minutes. So that was my goal of the season.
Okay, Al-Walid, your goal.
This is easy question for me. Of course, St. Maximin against Burnley. I think the first game of the season against Burnley.
Okay, good stuff. Pete, welcome. Thanks for making the effort, mate. I know it's your brother's birthday today, so thanks for getting away and sparing the time to come on. Much appreciated. Well, we haven't missed anything. A great deal. We just really want to recap, I suppose, with you. First of all, your player of the season, and then secondly, your goal of the season.
Okay. Player of the season has to be Callum Wilson. We signed him for £20 million. He's effectively our number 9. He had to be the one to make the difference, and he has this season. 12 goals, considering he missed the best part of 10 weeks in the season, being injured. You could probably put an extra 4 or 5 goals on top of that if he was fit. He fully deserves to be player of the season, without question. Goal of the season for me, very, very simple. The goal against Leicester. Every player on the team touched the ball. Callum Wilson was the one that finished it off. We are not accustomed to having a team like Newcastle where we score a goal like that. And that's the reason why it stands out for me. It's a goal where everyone played their part. We literally outplayed Leicester City, who are in the top, well, at the time we're in the top 4. We outplayed them for long parts of that game. And he was obviously the main man, Callum Wilson, to finish it off. But I just love watching that goal back time and time again, because like I said, we're not accustomed to seeing a goal like that from our team. So really, really impressive goal, an impressive performance. So that's my goal of the season.
Great stuff. And old pal Riley, I apologise, mate. It was a good goal. He's a Burnley fan. He says that ASM goal was unreal. He says, can you all stop talking about it now and let's just talk about Blackpool Rock? Sorry,
Steve, taking notice of him. He sat in my lounge talking.
Is he? Oh, very good. He's messing with your internet. That's what's happening. So he knew.
That's why I'm on the blink. Yeah.
All right, good stuff. I'm going to give a shout out to the sponsors now. Big shout out to Spider VPN, of course, for all your internet security. Just Google Spider VPN. They protect your passwords, your internet history, and everything else. Give them a shout. They will sort you out with a cracking deal. Give the show a mention. I'm sure they will sort you a little deal out. Thank you to Nathan, in particular, for helping us out, and Gareth. And skipsandbins.com, telephone 0800 25 45 25 3, email inquiries at skipsandbins.com, website www.skipsandbins.com, easy contract, free and pay as you go waste collection. And so Bobby is up in the top corner there. We do now put the sponsors logo up in the top corner, and I don't know whether you lads had seen this, but there you go. The NUFC Matters strip, which of course Pete's football team will be proudly wearing next season. So Bobby's got it on there. Looks very good. And I got sent one, actually wore it on the show on Friday night, as did Steve Hasty. Really nice strips, Pete. So I think the lads that you have playing for you will like them a lot. And big shout out to qtechshop.co.uk. I know John's in the chat. Good evening, mate. For the makers of pool tables and snooker tables in Wallsend, and John from Jab Signature, the boxing kit provider. He's got his new range coming out this summer. He knocks up our flyers. Don't forget, NUFC fans, foodbank.co.uk. The matchday bucket is still operational throughout the summer, and they do need your help. It's always a hard time this summer when there's no football. And of course, the matchday bucket is something which you can still help make a contribution to. And of course, anybody doing that between now and the 5th of August goes into the raffle to win this wonderful watch. So well worth doing, just like buying a raffle ticket. Well worth getting on. And don't forget to visit our website. We've got the football tops on sale on there now. John from QTech runs the website, nufcmatters.com. You can get yourself one of those tops, or a t-shirt, or the hoodies. Well worth having a pop on there, have a look, and see what you fancy. Okay, we're now on to the next category, which is match of the season. Chris, back to you.
It's got to be Leicester for me. I mean, to beat the FA Cup champions at their place, you know, a convincing first 4 goals. You know, it was a little poor to let up the last 2 goals, but to have a 4-0 win against one of the best sides in the league, and also a club that we've talked about before that we aspire to be, you know, to do what Leicester has done, to be, even without the most money, to be up there contending for cups and titles. So yeah, for all that it meant, to sort of put the capstone on the season, it's got to be Leicester at home, and especially for my man Pete, to be able to have those bragging rights against his homies. That just made it all the more special. I loved hearing about that. Yeah.
Okay, good stuff. I think a lot of the lads are going to pretty much have the same kind of feeling. But Chris Hall, over to you.
Yeah, you spot on, Steve. That's what I put down. So my match of the season was at the King Power. Yeah, I mean, at one point we were 4-0 up, and I remember speaking to my mother-in-law prior to the match and just saying to her, "Oh, I'm not looking forward to watching this." Like I was dreading it, if I'm honest. And you know, for us to put in a performance like that, albeit I don't think Leicester were great, which is why we were 4-0 up, but it didn't mean I enjoyed it any less. It was just such a good game. We were playing well, we looked dangerous, and as Chris has already said, you know, you look at Leicester's team and the squad, and for us to go to their backyard and perform like that and be 4-0 up, the players look shell-shocked. I mean,
Sorry.
It's all right. It's all right, mate. I enjoyed that. It's all right. And yeah, it was. Do you know what though? It was funny, and you probably agree with this, Steve. On Matchday Live, I can't remember if I was on Matchday Live or not, but I remember hearing about Johnny Evans being out. And I just got that feeling. It was literally he got injured in the warm up. And I remember thinking, I wondered if that's going to be our day. And I thought we might have snuck it, but I didn't for 1 minute think we'd be 4-0 up. And then what also made this game special was it was a typical Newcastle performance, and that we're 4-0 up, we're cruising, everything looks nosy, and then we managed to mess up. And then it was 4-1, then it was 4-2, and then the last 10 minutes, everyone was just, you could see everyone panicking. But we got it over the line, as is a commonly used phrase at our club, and we got the 3 points. And yeah, that was my most enjoyable and memorable game from last season.
Yeah, okay, Kieran.
Yeah, definitely Leicester. And I just seen someone in the chat there put Southampton as well at home. For me that comes really close to Leicester, because considering we had 10 men, it felt like we had 9 men when Joe Linton came on, because he kept giving the ball away. He felt like he was playing for the other team. But yeah, for me, it was Leicester, considering how good of a season they've had, and to go there and score 4 goals. And you're right, and Chris, you're right. When that news announced that Johnny Evans wasn't playing, you just felt like it just getting a lot of confidence to go and get a result. I'm not saying a win, even a draw would have been a good result, but to go there and win, it's just, I mean, to be 4-0 up as well, it's like 70 minutes as well. I suppose the only downside there was conceding 2 goals, because I don't think we deserve to concede goals, considering how good we played. But yeah, for me, it was definitely Leicester. That was the best one.
Okay, our lead. Which game did you enjoy? Which was your match of the season?
I can't choose between these two: Leicester City game, and of course Southampton game. Enter the rain, and against 9 players. We are 9 players against 11. So both those games for me was magnificent, actually.
Any update on the young prodigy, by the way? Your son, has he had another game?
Yes. Yeah, he's not listening to the coach.
He's not listening to the coach.
No, he only doesn't understand the practice, just understand just to run with the ball. He doesn't understand the tactics, and he's
Any
good. He's good for Steve Bruce.
Any more fouls?
Actually, I don't know. They are away now, so I'm not. I try to take away spots. My wife with them, so I'm not really watching.
Very good. Okay, good stuff. Keep us updated when we get that transfer sorted to Newcastle in the future.
Okay.
Pete, well, he has to go to Pete's team as well. You can go and play Pete's team out of season. All right, Pete. Your favorite game of the season?
I mean, the two games that have been mentioned, the Leicester game is, performance of the season. There's no doubt about it. The way we played for 80 odd minutes, and also the Southampton game for like the reasons that Kieran said, the fact that we were warriors, down to 10 men and we worked our socks off. We fully deserved that win. But I really liked the Everton win at Goodison Park. That's where we saw what Graham Jones was all about. From the absolute dross that we saw week in, week out from the back end of December through January, to then see that performance, how organised and controlled we were as a team. And Everton were high flying at the time, and we made them look awful that day. And again, I was listening before I came on the goal that Kieran said about Callum Wilson, an amazing finish, technically very, very difficult with his head. And it was just an all-round performance. I remember us coming off Matchday Live, absolutely buzzing at that win, because we'd seen something so different to what we'd seen for so many weeks, and how frustrated we were in all those weeks. And then to see that, for me, that's up there. That's up there. It wasn't the defining win. It didn't define where we went in that season, but it was such a nice change to have as a Newcastle fan, to see that performance come through. I'd just like to add the shithouse, or the shithousery performance of the season has got to be Crystal Palace away on that Friday night. I remember me and Daz were in absolute hysterics at the fact that, we won when we were absolutely atrocious there. And then the Joe Linton goal at the end, where it trickled through the it was just, that is shithousery at its absolute finest. We did not deserve that whatsoever. And it was just, I had to throw that out there, because, I remember us watching that 90 minutes of being so frustrated at how bad we were and how bad Palace were. We still managed to win 2-0. So yeah, that has to be given a sort of a shout out to.
Yeah, good stuff. Okay, Nath.
Yeah, I think I was going to say the same as Chris, as Pete. Sorry, the Everton game. I think it came at a time where, obviously, Graham Jones came in. He made that immediate impact into the team. Before that, like as Pete said, we'd seen nothing much really to suggest that we were ever going to get out of a dogfight. We were in a pretty decent position at that point in the season, but that came at a time where I didn't do the match day live. I was moving house that weekend, but it came at a time where there was a lot of talk of Ancelotti's Everton being top 4 that season and making strides to break into that top 6, top 4, and all the good work that he'd done. And there were all plaudits around James Rodriguez around that time, how much of an impact he'd made on that team, and the hype was all around them, really. So I went into that game really not expecting anything. And the fact that we came out with a 2-0 win, yeah, it was a bit edgy towards the end of it, but it just showed the impact that one person could make on a team, and giving us a bit of a more of a forward focus rather than what we've been used to seeing the entire season. So I think we'd got ourselves into a privileged position by that point in the season. I think we were certainly flying higher than we thought we might have been, and we seemed to get dragged into it more and more after that game. But that performance to me showed me that we had a little bit of something. We had something that we could work with something that would, we had some integrity in the team. We had some fight in us, and it demonstrated to me a lot of the attributes that we've kind of put into practice in the last sort of 5, 6, 7 games of the season. I think one of the big moments of that game was after the game, walking off the pitch. We saw Graham Jones with his arm around Ryan Fraser, with his arm around Callum Wilson. And that's something that we hadn't seen all season. We hadn't seen our manager, put his arm around someone and say, like, well done, like, good game, that kind of thing. So I think that for me was probably performance that gave me hope that we might have something. You know, we might have enough in our locker to stay in this division and to get out of trouble.
Yeah, good point, mate. Good point. David, your match of the season.
Well, definitely Leicester away, but I just want to mention 2 other games. West Ham, first game of the season. It filled us up with so much hope, and it just didn't happen. And Liverpool away, the craziness of the final minutes, that's what football's all about. And I loved it. I was raging 1 minute, and then gone ballistic the next.
Yeah, good points as well, mate. I get where you're coming from. Yeah, the Liverpool game was one where we didn't expect to get anything, and we did. And I mean, I think like just the way the season finished, though, you know, it's. I think that the bizarre stat we mentioned, you know, at the end of Match Day Live after the Fulham game was that, you know, literally we had enough points. You know, we didn't actually need all those wins. It's amazing. You know, Fulham self-destructed really after going on a great run. But yeah, Marty, your match of the season?
Yeah, it has to be the Leicester game, Steve. I actually went away that day. We were going away for a long weekend to Mrs. birthday, so I wasn't looking forward to watching it. I couldn't watch it anyway, so I just thought, I don't think we're going to have much luck there. And then my phone was just going mad that evening. Text from mates saying, "Have you seen the score?" So I checked it out and couldn't believe it. I think we were 2-0 up, and I just couldn't believe it. And then obviously I watched it on Match of the Day the next night, and it's like watching The Entertainers again. I thought we'd been transported back to the 90s. You know, it was brilliant.
Yeah, no surprise, guys, that the Leicester game comes out on top there. And, you know, I think you're right as well about the Everton game. You know, doing a double over Everton, Chris, is something, you know, which would have delighted you where you live, mate.
Yeah, do you know what? Chris A pulled me on it in the chat, and he's absolutely right. And even as David rightly said, the Liverpool game, you know, for me from being in Liverpool, I completely forgot about that. You know, where we got robbed of that goal and then we scored. I was literally in my son's face, like screaming, because I was that happy, like because we'd been robbed and he was laughing at me, and then we got that goal. Oh, it was great.
Just another game.
Yeah, we're totally undefeated against Liverpool. Both squads coming away. Total of 8 points gained, no points dropped. Oh.
Just another game as well. The Wolves game at home, we drew 1-1, but I thought we should have won that game. The amount of chances we had in that game. I thought we played some nice stuff in that game. But somehow we just couldn't really find the back of the net. Only to obviously score 1 goal.
Do you know what else we played as well? We played, and Pete mentioned it. Obviously, we got lucky against Palace, didn't we, Pete? But then when we lost 2-1 to Palace, we played really well that game, and we shouldn't have lost that game.
Yeah,
that was a good match.
I mean, I didn't ask you to research this one, but it'll be there's a few to choose from. But Chris A, the worst game of the season for you?
Oh, hands down, it's got to be Brighton. 3-0 loss to Brighton. I mean, we were sort of going into that match. It was sort of like our like, you know, make or break game. We thought, you know, like we sort of thought, okay, it's one thing to be ahead of Fulham, but we've got to keep pace or be ahead of Brighton, and that was just like, you know, probably one of the worst matches that any of us have ever seen. Our performances from Newcastle, just basically like they didn't get off the bus essentially. So yeah, I mean, it was just a total listless performance, not worthy of a Premier League club. So hands down, the worst performance this season, Brighton.
Yeah, Chris Holt.
Yeah, Chris has hit the nail on the head there. It's Brighton. I mean, there's been quite a few poor performances this season. I also obviously remember the Sheffield United game. That really hurt. So it's probably one of those two for me, and I'd say probably the Brighton one, because with the Sheffield United one, the result was devastating. And really, you know, the performance wasn't good enough to get anything from the game. But that Brighton game, there was just nothing. There was absolutely nothing there whatsoever. And I think that's what hurt the most at a time when we all hoped we'd win, and we thought, you know, we could win. But we were deservedly beat 3-0, and it could have been more, and we didn't even deserve to get on the score sheet. So yeah, probably the Brighton game for me.
Jason's asking Chris A, what was the worst haircut vote all about?
I think that's just his creation. I was just about to message him through the YouTube. That came out of the blue when he said I had the worst hair. I think it was just joking because he has no hair, so he was just jealous.
Yeah, well, you certainly had an array of different styles. I think we went through the match day lives, Chris, in particular. You've been compared to stuff, and I think it was Nathan who pointed out as well. Kieran's actual picture on Twitter. I didn't realise it's the little flyer of Patrick Troughton. Doctor Who.
Doctor Who is me.
That's a great one.
Kieran, worst game of the season?
I'm trying to think, because obviously we've been beaten twice by Brighton. The first game earlier on in the season, I don't know which game that was, if it was. I think it was that one or the one recently we got beat. But I would say the one recently, because the way we just turn up. You know what I mean? We had one shot on goal, and I think it was Ryan Fraser hit the post, and when I hit the post, I thought it was never going to go in because we never had any sort of luck in that game. And also as well, the Sheffield United game, it's just embarrassing. We gave Sheffield United their first win of the season. It's just like that's typical. It's just what we do, isn't it?
Yeah, Sheffield United, awful game, awful, and because it was so important, to lose that game. I mean, I remember the build up to that game. The Sheffield United game, and saying how important it was. And me, I kept pointing to the Sheffield Wednesday game from years ago that I was at on the bank holiday, and again it was almost like prophetic that that we got beat. But Brentford as well. Pete.
Yeah. I mean, you could argue with the Brighton, the second Brighton game, and the Sheffield United game are the two worst. But as I've said before on the Match Day Lives, for me, they were the two games where, in my opinion, the players were trying to get the manager sacked. So I don't think, although they were horrible, horrible performances, I think they were manipulated to a certain extent by the players, because I think the players wanted to Bruce out the club, and they thought those two games were the ones to make that happen. But for me, other than those two, it's the Brentford game. It has to be. You've got an opportunity to get into the semi-final of a cup, and they just threw it away. The performance was shocking. It wasn't like it was a high-flying Brentford team that we were playing against. They played their reserve teams as well. They were prioritising the championship, so a lot of their players weren't even first choice, and we didn't lace a glove on them whatsoever in the whole of that game. That must have been the easiest game they've played all season, and it was against Premier League opposition from their point of view. So it was an embarrassing performance, and that actually started off. In my opinion, you could argue the Leeds and the Fulham game is the games that started it, but for me, that's what started off our really poor form, and that's what really got the fans' backs up, because that was the game, if you remember, with all the history on it and everything else that was mentioned alongside that, and that's where Bruce really started to get and irritate the fans. So that started off a lot after that, but it was a horrible, horrible performance in a game that meant so much to the fans.
Yeah, Chris Holtz just mentioned as well in the Brentford game, the rested 6 or 7 players were actually playing Brentford's reserves.
Yeah, so it was their reserve team. I think it was Ivan Toney came on at like sort of 75 minutes.
Yeah,
he was their leading scorer. It just said everything you needed to know, and it was there was a lot to that game that then created a lot of negativity after that. It was just a poor performance. And like I say, when you've got an opportunity to go to the semi-final of a cup, no matter what cup it is, no matter what team you are, you put in a better performance in that.
Just on the Brighton thing, we've lost. I mean, that's 6-0 on aggregate. We've basically lost to them, and yet we still finished above them. And they must be thinking what the hell was going on now? Because they absolutely tore us apart on both of them.
Yeah.
And yet we finished above.
Brighton deserved exactly where they ended up. For all the media hype that they get given around their style of football, Brighton deserve exactly to finish where they
just don't score goals. Just don't score goals.
They're not a great team.
Apart from when they
all
put
their possession, they're not a great team. Just a reminder, I did say, and I was laughed at a little bit on the final countdown show. I'll keep going back to that because I had us at 42 points. We ended up on 45. But I also said on that show that we would finish ahead of Burnley, Fulham, and Brighton, and I was laughed at that as well. So it did work out in the end, and so I'm happy about that.
Yeah,
Gotta give you that, mate.
100%. Yeah, David, your worst match of the season?
I don't think there's one. I think there's three, and I think it's all been covered: Brighton, Sheffield United, and Brentford. But quickly going back, what you said, did you say Sheffield United 3-1? Sheffield Wednesday 3-1.
Yeah, I mean that was God. When was that? Was it 3-1, 3-0? It was a bank holiday. It was in the
1989.
That's the one. Yeah.
Yeah.
They played in the green and white strips. It was a bank holiday Monday, and we played 2 games over the weekend. And that game, I just had that. That was the first relegation I suffered as a fan. Awful.
Yeah. That was the day I lied to my parents to go to the game.
I think we all did that at some point. So, which was your worst game, David?
Out of the three of them, I think Brentford hurt us the most because it was such a good opportunity and we blew it. And that was the point where I just gave up on Bruce and thought he should have gone then.
Yeah. Okay. Marty?
Yeah, for me, it's the 2 Brighton games. I mean, the most recent one, I think it was the 20th of March, wasn't it? Before we went on the international break, that hurt the most. I just thought, really, then I was just seriously worried about us, being relegated. That's when I was really worried. And I thought, how are we going to get out this mess? And then we had the international break, and then obviously I think Mr. Bruce had a word with the team and sorted out the differences with Richie and people like Love, brought them back in, and it just turned the season around, didn't it? So, but yeah, that was the lowest point for me, that Brighton 3-0 defeat in March.
Yeah, and last but by no means least, Alwaleed, your worst game of the season?
Also, it's not that there are so many, but Brighton game, as you said, guys, it was because we expected to do something, and I remember all the fans throw cabbage at St James Park. They throw the cabbage, so and the wars flags. I remember, yeah. So Brighton games, and I believe maybe we get 1 or 0 shot on target as well. So it's deserved the worst match in the season.
Okay, last one we're going to go around the houses with, Chris, here is the best signing and the worst signing.
Best signing has to be Callum Wilson, and as Pete and everyone said, all those goals that he scored. If he played a full season, he could have challenged for 20 goals to be among the league leaders. He's just a machine, and sort of everything that we've been lacking the last couple of years. For not, all this talk of false 9s, false 10s, false 9s. He was our true number 9, and he fully deserves to have that number on his back. I understand why he didn't take it this season, but if he stays with us for a while, he should eventually get that number 9 on his back and join join some of our more illustrious number 9s in the history. He's deserving of that. And I would just like to highlight. I know that Mick Lowe's is sort of worried about some other club coming in to swoop for Callum Wilson, but I fully believe that he would be as protected or more protected than Alan St. Maximin, because he would be a bigger loss to us than if I think St. Maximin was sold off. So hopefully, I totally respect Mick Lowe's, but hopefully that doesn't happen, because that would be a disaster for us going forward. And I think that Mike Ashley at least wants to keep the value of the club, and he's definitely a big value of the club. The worst signing, it's sort of a work in progress. I have to say that that it would be the lad from Northern Ireland. Blanking on the name right now. All this stuff.
Hendrick.
Hendrick.
No, he's from Ireland. The
Jamal Lewis.
Jamal Lewis. Yeah. So I mean, considering that we spent 20 million on Callum Wilson, how much he produced, and then we spent 15 million on Jamal Lewis, and he could come good in the next couple of seasons. We certainly didn't put as much as we did for Joe Linton, but yeah, kind of a disappointment for me for this season from Jamal Lewis. Of course, you could say that it's called competition with other players, but other players who got it on a free. So I don't think you can compare a 15 million signing to a free signing. No matter how bad some of our free signings were, the 15 million signing is sort of so far our worst this season, but a work in progress. He could come good next season or two.
Okay, Chris Hall, same question to you, mate.
Yeah, it's probably the hardest one, this, Steve. So there was 3 people who I considered for signing this season. First one being Callum Wilson, the obvious one. I went on before about how important Callum Wilson is to this team, and he's finished top goal scorer, and he was a snip at 20 million. I also considered for signing the season Joe Willett. I think the fact that we've brought him in for a nominal loan fee, and he's come in, he's played 14 games and scored 8 goals. I mean, that is incredible for a central midfielder. You'd be pleased if your striker came in and scored 8 goals in 14 games, but to do it from centre midfield in a team that are performing quite low down in the league, I think that's great. And also, I think another person who we should consider for signing the season would probably be Graham Jones. Again, brought in on a nominal fee, and he's turned things around for us in January and onwards. But I'm gonna decide, I think, on Joe Willett, and the reason for that is because of the numbers, what it meant for us, and he's coming halfway through the season, and expectations on a 21-year-old who can't get in the Arsenal team, and for him to do what he's done and delivered what he's delivered in such a short space of time with all that pressure on him, and he's also broke a record in the process. Scoring 7 goals in a row is just fantastic. So yeah, I'm going to have to give it to Joe Willett. In terms of where signing the season, I totally take on board what Chris has said about Jamal Lewis. I think Jamal Lewis going forward for us is going to be a good player. I think if he's coached properly, he will turn out to be a good signing. Jurgen Klopp, if Jurgen Klopp wants to sign a player, to me, they're going to be a half decent player. So I reserve judgment on Jamal Lewis, but I do appreciate he cost £15 million, and Matt Ritchie's come in, replaced him, and been absolutely fantastic. So I can see where Chris is coming from picking Jamal Lewis, but I think for me, worst sign of the season's got to be Jeff Hendrick. We've got him on a free transfer, but I bet you it's going to be on handsome wages, a nice signing on fee, and I believe he got a 3-year deal. Correct me if I'm wrong. And it could be hard to move him on now, because even whether next season we decide to keep hold of him, take over or not, I think we're going to struggle to move him on, because I don't think many clubs will be queuing up for Jeff Hendrick. And unfortunately, I think we've signed a bit of a dud, if I'm honest.
Okay, Kieran, your best and worst signing.
So, I mean, for me, the best signing is Willett, considering he's come in and he scored 7 goals. But I also get the Callum Wilson thing as well, considering how many goals he scored. But I'm going to go with Willett because of the player that I remember when we signed him, and I thought, he hasn't had a look in Arsenal really, but he's come in and he's done a job. And for me now, I doubted whether to sign him, and I think we should, because we're not going to get anyone better, in my opinion. So I would pay the money for him. And on the worst signing, it's a toss of a coin between Hendricks and Ryan Fraser, because I remember when Fraser was signed, there was quite a lot of sort of positivity about him, considering what he's done down at Bournemouth over the years. But it's just not worked out, and I think the attitude is more. It's not like Alan in the chat there. His attitude is his attitude's not good enough. You can go on about injuries and all that, but you remember back lockdown last year, he thought he could get himself a move to one of the big six, and that never happened. And he's come here and he's just thought, well, you know, I know he's had injuries, but when it's like when he got sent off at Sheffield United, he started laughing, didn't he? He's like, do you know what I mean? Like, it's don't really. I think he's one of them players. He's one of them players that he's like Sam Maximan. He wants the club to really progress, but it's just not happening. And he thought he got sold a dream when he came here, because he got told that we're going to be, do you know what I mean, challenging for like the top 10 in Europe and all that, and that's obviously that's not happened, and it's just not worked out. But I'm going to say Fraser over Hendricks.
Okay, Pete.
Okay. Has to be Callum Wilson. Best sign of the season. Has to be. We've been crying out for a striker, a permanent one at that can drive us forward. We've had a little taste of Rondon, and we wanted him to stay, and he didn't. We were massively disappointed with Joe Linton the season after that. So we needed a top striker that could lead the line for us and give us everything. And he is that striker. We were very, very fortunate that he went down with Bournemouth. We were able to get him for 20 million, because he's already proved this season that he's worth more than that. So we are very lucky to have him. And like I said in the previous comments, he got his 12 goals this season, bearing in mind he missed about 10 weeks worth of football. And they were games that I can close to guarantee that he would have got goals in had he been fit. So, we could have been looking at potentially, 15 plus goals for him in that season, which would have been a great return on a team that's not really got much attacking intent. I hope he's going to be on number 9 next year, officially on number 9. And with a fully fit, rested summer and a fully fit pre-season, I fully expect him to hit the ground running again. Worst signing for me, there is no one else other than Jeff Hendricks. Steve Bruce clearly thought he was still back at Hull and Sunderland when he made that signing, because Jeff Hendricks is not a Newcastle United signing, I'm sorry. He just doesn't fit the bill at all. And we had question marks when he was signed. And we've still got those question marks now. And the only positive is that he's not. I think that Steve Bruce has now realised that, which is why he's been nowhere near the starting lineup. And long may that continue. I just wanted to drop in there about Ryan Fraser, because I know there's been a lot of heat on him and a lot of negativity around Ryan Fraser. I actually feel sorry for him. I feel sorry for him to a certain extent, because he hadn't played since March 2020. He hadn't had a pre-season. He hadn't had any form of training, and he was kind of chucked into a Premier League season. And it's not ideal. You have a look at the likes of Edison Cavani, who suffered the same fate the first half of the season at Man United. But the more regular games you get, the better you play. And he just hasn't had that run. And I honestly believe, regardless of what we consider his attitude to be, I honestly believe if he has a good pre-season or a good Euros under his belt and he comes back to us still fully fit, I think he'll have a really good season for us, because he's a quality player. There was no doubt about that. Before he came to us on a free, he was banded at the best part of 20 million, plus to be signed by the likes of Arsenal and teams further up the Premier League. So I think we've got a player there, but he just needs to get his fitness back in order to show his ability. But yeah, they were my two anyway.
Okay, David, your best and worst signings this season?
Yeah, I'll keep it short and sweet. Wilson, best. Hendrick, worst. But if we've got time, I don't know if we have, I would just like to ask one more final question for the review of the season.
All right, okay, well, we'll come back to you. Marty?
Yeah, so for me, it was Willett was my player of the season, just because Wilson was brought in as an out-and-out striker. We knew what he was capable of, but Willett was like a surprise package for me. So I'm going to give it to Willett. And my worst was Hendrick. He started off well, didn't he? In the first game of the season, scored quite a good goal, didn't he? But then he just didn't build from there, did he? He just got worse and worse. So yeah, Hendrick's the worst for me. Thanks, Steve.
All right, and that's great. Our lead.
For longer term, of course, Wilson. But regarding the other players for the worst signing, sometimes some players, if they play with not how to use to be play, like if the manager asks him some task, he's not his style, and I think this is the reason why most of the players like Fraser, Hendrik, Jamal Lewis can't play very well. But if I have to choose one, for Hendrik, it was a surprise. I remember first game of the season, he did good, and he scored. And I think we chose him for man of the match. But I didn't know what happened lately. But for me, I would choose Jamal Lewis because the left back is, and everybody know, the left back is so fixed position, standard rules. It's not for who play left side. No matter what any coach of the world telling you to do in the left back, it's common sense because it's the left back. You need to support in defense. You need to do crosses. You need to cover it's not that hard for the left back to play his roles. Not like Jeff Hendrick. Jeff Hendrick maybe sometimes play in the right with George and Shelby. And sometimes play in the front. So I think it's too much maybe asking from Steve Bruce to Jeff Hendrick. So to sum up, I will choose Jamal Lewis for that.
Okay, David, I'll come back to you. What question do you want to ask the panel?
Okay, so we can do this really quickly. Just one word answers. As far as I know, there's 5 or 6 players out of contract in this season. So I'll just name them all and we can just go yes or no, would you keep them or not? Is that okay?
Okay, mate.
Right, so the first one's Atsu.
Well, I certainly wouldn't.
No,
get rid of him.
No
He's got. I think Huddersfield are trying to sign him. I read earlier.
Yeah, I think they are, Kieran.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Andy Carroll.
No.
God, that's hard. I'm
Despite
torn.
what Chris hates you saying, no chance.
No, okay, I'll say no. I'll say no.
Yeah, no for me as well.
I was on mute. Give him another year.
Too many injuries.
Yeah, I don't think he's had a good chance, has he, at all yet? Really, it's hard to say. I don't know.
Yeah, I wouldn't keep Andy Carroll.
Steve, do you know what? I was absolutely made up the other day. I posted it on the group. It's like one of the. I know some people in the chat agree with me, but when I seen Steve Howie and he was like, "You should keep Andy Carroll," I was made up. I thought, "Yes, Steve."
I'll tell you what. I think Andy Carroll does a lot with the team behind the scenes of keeping the morale up. I think he's a really good character, positive character to have in the dressing room. I think he just gives everybody that lift.
I would leave him, Carroll, but they will not let him play. So what's the point?
Yeah.
Fernandez.
No. Get rid of him.
Keep him.
1,000,000%.
I don't rate him personally. I think we can get someone better than him. How old is he? Just to ask, is he 30? How old is he? 32, 33 now?
He's early 30s. Yeah, let me check.
Give him a 2-year contract.
Yeah.
If we can't get anyone else, yeah.
Yeah, keep him.
He's an incredibly experienced centre back who rightly has had a very good back end of the season. There's no reason why we shouldn't be giving him a new contract.
Yeah, he's very good in the back line, isn't he?
If we can keep Colaccini till he's 35, there's no reason why we can't keep Fernandez until the same age.
Yeah.
Saive.
Definitely
no.
not.
Yeah,
That's
a one. And Jacob Murphy.
Keep him.
Yes. Keep him. Yes.
Keep him.
I don't. Not for me. I think. I don't know. Yeah. No. I wouldn't.
I think he's going to get better and better.
Yeah, I'd say on the caveat though, I'd keep him, but with the caveat that we may want to resell him because he's definitely worth some money. And I know I'm saying this, but give him a 3-year deal. If it doesn't work out in a year, sell him on for between 8 and 10 million because you'll get some money for him because he is a good player. He's got something in him But whether he'll be good enough for us in 12, 18 months, I don't know. But I think he's done enough this season to get another deal.
Thank you.
All right, great stuff. Just want to thank everybody for taking the time out of a bank holiday Sunday to do this. And I'll be doing this with the rest of the panelists throughout the week. But great to have you on, guys. Once again, thank you for everything you've done through the season. I know it's been much appreciated by everybody in the chat. They've loved the match day lives. And I'll get you on, guys, over the next few weeks when we start picking up towards maybe the Euros. When we'll come on and have a chat about that at some point. But enjoy the rest of your bank holiday. Take care, guys. Bye-bye.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Steve. Thanks, guys.
Critics attack. It feels like I've been talking to myself again, but it's the only way